Well, we asked the Supreme Court to stay the order from the regional district on those elements that we felt were beyond its proper boundaries, and those elements which prevented us from carrying out normal logging activities normally regulated by the Ministry of Forests. And his decision today does that, so we're pleased by that. We also are obviously going to comply and respect the rule about the not logging the slopes greater than 60% during the stay period. We'll go in and remove the timber which has been prepared for harvest there and standing stems, but we won't fall any further timber there.
At this point, the court is respecting the local Board of Health's order to the extent that he does recognize their authority and their right to make an order. So that's good, and the 60% slopes are protected from further activity, except that they've already felled some trees on 60% slopes. Their business is logs, and I understand that. Our business is the public interest in environmental assets, and they understand that. So.
And how do you feel about the fact that, if these hearings had gone without Western logging in the middle of them, that all the trees on those slopes would still be there? I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I believe that's the way it should have been. I guess my perspective is that issues that are a lot bigger than Western's welfare have come to the fore here. And I wish Western would just stand aside and let these issues be worked out, rather than insisting that their right to a few cubic meters of wood comes before the public interest.
But we will carry out activities in the more conventional blocks with a more gentle slope.
Because this order allows them to log near creeks and...
It allows them to log right up to the creek, drop a tree in the creek, drop a tree over the creek, and yard from wherever. And that's what's been going on. And that's part of the evidence that was before the local Board of Health. And that's why they put a prohibition against riparian logging.
Do you think the court should have erred on the side of the precautionary principle here in the absence of knowing that they should stop it instead of allowing it?
I think the court... Well, first off, I think the judge was faced with 4,000 or 5,000 pages of documentation and some enormously complex legal issues. So I don't want to cast any dispersions on him, because his was the most difficult job here. But my opinion is that the order could have stood without obstructing Western's right to log in the interim between now and when the full appeal is heard.
But waiting for the appeal decision is going to be a little bit too late, because they could be going in there in the next few days.
Yes, they'll be in there in the next few days. There's not too much that I can do about that.
The logging on steep slopes will still be an issue by the time the appeal rolls around. On the ground, the question of the other cut blocks will probably be moot. It'll be too late to protect them. Nonetheless, I'm sure the Court on Appeal will be asked to consider that issue again, and there may be an after-the-fact recognition that those areas shouldn't have been cut.
Environmental impact is, I have it highlighted in red because that's the main focus that we'll be talking about today. So basically we're trying to build this bridge without having any downstream impact, and I like to, as we'll see later, have no on-site impact, because that's what it's the downstream users that we're concerned about. And I decided to keep the integrity of the creek bank in place. I had to put it behind the stump, and it ended up lengthening and expanding. Downstream looking upstream, tried to leave all the vegetation we possibly could. Because we were right on the boundary of the watershed. He walked well back from the boundary and fueled his machinery up out of the watershed. So he did a phenomenal job doing everything he possibly could to keep the creek clean. He really put the extra effort in to do that, and I really appreciate that. Just to keep a creek clean is that's the big thing.
I see things that looks like branchy debris. Definitely water flows through here.
Conventional logging on the more on the flatter areas. Yeah.
We are looking at a lot of riparian damage in our watershed from logging practices that probably weren't appropriate 50 or 60 years ago, but we're stuck with them today, and that relates to the general failure of the Forest and Range Practices Act and the provincial government to actually protect water in source areas of public drinking water.
We also feel very, very strongly that logging in that entire area, including those areas, does not pose a threat to drinking water.
Up until the Board of Health order, and from now until the appeal is heard, logging companies can basically disallow any protection for water on the grounds that it unduly restricts the flow of timber, and that's the law in British Columbia. So we may win at the appeal level, but until the law is remedied so that it does protect water, this fight will not be over.
How does the company view some of the public outcry that there's been about logging in this watershed? Certainly protests that we saw a few weeks ago, 400 people lined up on a bridge in the Chapman watershed. I mean, that's not good PR.
I mean, as I said, we clearly understand and hear those concerns. People should be concerned about drinking water. We share those concerns, and we're very confident in our ability to get that work done. We also understand it's important that we work with communities and try to have communities understand what it is we're all about.
We're going to do a shout for the watershed. So what I'd like you to do, if you all don't mind moving into the rain, what we're shouting out here for us, we're shouting out, putting the energy out, the vibe out. You just keep saving it all. Keep saving it. Keep working together. Keep us all working together. Put your hands up. Keep us all working together. Save the ecosystem. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Let's do it one more time and feel it from the diaphragm. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful, beautiful. And for that, let's dance. We'll let James tell you.
We have enormous respect for due process of law and also public process. So there was a process going on, and they should have respected that fact and not tried to compromise public process before it had concluded. So that's part of how they stepped in it and got themselves into difficulty.
Will this affect future logging?
I think this is a pretty site-specific case, and in terms of its effect on Western, we're talking about this one particular area and those particular slopes. And as I've said, we'll remove the timber which has been prepared there, but not harvest any further. In terms of broader aspects on the act or legislation, you have to talk to people in Victoria about that.
Water for all of us to drink. That's what the warriors. We need courage and strength to carry on. Every heartbeat is a gift from the universe.
Unfortunately, the judge threw out most of what the board had recommended to protect our drinking water. He only left one item that they had they'd laid down in that order. It wasn't a particularly successful enterprise for this group. We're not an association, by the way. We are just a group of concerned citizens.
And for all the warriors, let's stand up for the watershed. We need courage and strength to carry on.
So what do you say to those residents today?
I just say that this is the order. The appeal will be started on September the 10th. We'll talk further about some of the issues, but we hope people respect the judge's decision today, take a look at it, and conduct themselves accordingly.
And strength to carry on.